Welcome to Movie Lounge. This is the Wednesday, I almost said Windows event. Today is the Wednesday episode, and we're going to get down to talking about directors and possibly producers' jobs. And we're going to talk about two movie trailers that came out. And I know one we talked about yesterday, the main trailer dropped today, and that is The Dark Tower and Defenders, which is the Marvel / Netflix trailer or TV show build up. So I'm going to get into those later. And if you want, you can comment in the live chat. I've now been able to see where I can see you guys talking. I'm setting this up. It's getting a lot better, the show. So let's begin. So a lot of people I've seen in comments on Facebook and different places where they're talking about directors and what they do, or like what producers do. I'm going to break it down for you because I feel like that's something that a lot of people are not really getting or comprehending or understanding what directors or producers do. So here's the down low. Producers mainly they handle the financial things. They pretty much own the movie per se. And a lot of directors don't really do that stuff. They're hired by producers who are part of the studio, and in that the producers kind of get more say. Now sometimes the producers will give the director more leeway depending on what the director has done in the past with movies. So pretty much it goes producer, director, first AD, second AD, and so on. And then you also have co-producers and other people who are part of it for like financial business side of it. But it's mainly the producers kind of oversee it. And sometimes you don't even see the producers. They just put the name on there just for business-wise. So what a director does, and it's kind of an interesting topic because I always say, I'll bet you anything you couldn't tell me what a director does on a movie set without even looking it up. Because when you look it up on Google, you kind of get a different side of it. What a director mainly does, and sometimes this isn't the case, but most of the time, what a director does is they work with the actors only. Now, granted, they do get to have a lot of say when the film is still in the works and pre-production, but most of the time the actors or the directors work with the actors and tell them, this is what I want, this is how I want it. And most of the time, the first AD, first assistant director, gets to say action or cut. That is pretty much how it's supposed to go. Now, sometimes, recently, it's become more of this whole, the director has the final say on cut or action or anything. Because most of the directors are producers now. So in that situation, the director / producer, if it's, say, like Ben Affleck, who directs it and owns the whole movie, he's doing it himself, he has full say, like Peter Jackson on like Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit. That's the whole thing. It's if you take on the role of producing, writing, like you're the main core person, this is your movie, that's a separate situation. That's when pretty much like a director has done a lot of movies and has been recognized as really good, and he knows how to do his work, he gets a higher ranking of things. So most of the time, directors mostly work with just actors. That's what I did when I took a directing class in college. I decided I'm going to take an acting class so I understand how to work with actors, because I felt like, okay, this is something that if I went into being a director, I'll understand how actors are, and I'll know how to work with them, so it's a lot easier. I'm the type of person, if I went into film, went back into film, did films, that since I know how to edit and do different categories of a job, I'm able to work with people a lot easier, so I'm much easier to work with. So, and a lot of directors, their background is mostly generally editing. They come from editors' career point because the editors do a lot of storytelling. They get all this tons, like hundreds of shots, and they have to put it together. So they become a storyteller over themselves. And they don't get recognized as much when Oscars come. And this is why I don't like the Oscars a lot of times, is because there's other people that play an important role. Like editors are very important with storytelling, and just now they're getting more recognized. But to me, it seems like they're not getting as recognized because everyone's like, "Ooh, who's gonna be the best actor, or the best actress, or what's gonna get the best film, or the best director?" Well, that's not important to me. What is important is the other technical stuff, like visual effects, editing, sound, like those stuff, and that's a side topic we can talk about later. But right now, it's mainly a lot of people are just wanting it's whenever a film is being noticed or recognized, it's always the director. And to me that's kind of a letdown because it's sometimes the director that's not he's hired separately. He's been called in to direct this and most of the time it's not his story. And I feel like that's what Hollywood is kind of missing a little bit because they're putting his face on it. So if it's terrible, it's his fault. And I think a lot of it has to do with the producers and studios for wanting to make it. It's usually not the director. Sometimes it can be because he's directing it, he's telling the story, but I feel like there's certain situations where it depends on the situation really. What I'm trying to say is if he's a director and producer, he has more say, but if he's just a director, he has to kind of go to the producer or he has people above him. So that's pretty much that gist of it in a nutshell. And I know when people go online and talk about, he's director and talking about all this stuff, a lot of people don't know what they're talking about because they just look it up and like WikiLeaks or Wikipedia, I should say, is telling everyone like, oh, this is what that is. That's not necessarily true. If you take a history, a film class, or actually what's better, if you take a business in film, you'll learn so much more of like what goes on. There's tons of different categories of how to make a movie and like what jobs there are that go into making a movie. And it's insane. It's crazy how much stuff you learn through that. So, and then tomorrow we'll talk about probably other technical film stuff or anything, other topics. But we're going to get into the Dark Tower and Defender trailer. And right now I'm going to talk about Defender trailer because I feel like it's a TV show, but it's kind of cool. So we'll get into that. I watched Daredevil and then half of Daredevil season 2 because I felt like Daredevil season 2 was getting too into the whole love triangle, and I'm not in those situations. I'm not like drawn to that. I'm more drawn to like Daredevil doing his cool stuff. So I might finish it just because I've heard it gets a little bit better. I watched part of Jessica Jones. Not saying it's a bad show. I just never really got into it. It never caught my attention in the first place. It seemed interesting. But after watching a few episodes, it's like I just don't feel like this is my kind of thing, which is totally fine. That's my opinion. You guys may think it's really good, and that's okay. Hey, fine. Never really got a chance to watch Luke Cage. I definitely want to check it out. I heard really good things about that. And I never watched Iron Fist just because I didn't know the backstory of Iron Fist that well enough to kind of get interested. It looks interesting, but I don't know, for some reason it never caught my eye. When it comes to like TV shows, something has to catch my eye a lot. I saw the Defenders trailer today. Totally loved it. I thought it was a mini series of like the Avengers. And I felt like, okay, maybe the reason why I'm not too into Iron Fist or Jessica Jones or Luke Cage is because they're their own standalone and they probably work better in a group. And I totally dig it. Everything about this whole setup, the trailer didn't really give away anything. It looks like they're fighting Elektra. I'm not quite sure because I haven't really watched much of the Marvel Netflix shows. But I feel like it gave it a new, fresh look. I know in Iron Fist the fighting wasn't that great, just from like what I've seen. But in this one, it seems like they made Iron Fist a little bit better in the fighting and the choreography. So I feel like as a whole, Defenders looks really good. It looks like a show I can get into, I can be a part of, I can engage more, be connected with the characters a lot more. So I feel like that's really cool. And I think it comes out in summer. I'm not sure what time in it, what month or date or I don't know the whole thing. I want to say August is what I'm feeling. So I watched the Dark Tower trailer. The teaser, I guess, it was a teaser yesterday that dropped. But I saw the Dark Tower trailer and I am blown away. I don't know much about this. I think in one of the scenes he's talking about a kid. It looks like a psychologist talking to a kid, and I'm gonna sneeze. Ooh. And sorry. And so a psychiatrist is talking to a kid, and things start shaking in the building, and it looks like a picture from The Shining. And from what I understand, the Dark Tower ties in a lot of what Stephen King's books are. So I think that's really what's catching me into wanting to see this. Is like, ooh, I like when movies tie things in, subtle hints or subtle tie-ins. I kind of dig that. I think it's a really cool, like, little Easter egg thing that they do in books and movies. But the gist of what I got out of Dark Towers is it's about this man in black who's played by Matthew McConaughey, and then it's this gunslinger who's played by Idris Elba. Cannot pronounce his name, but What Up Cruise Productions. And so it is about them who fight. There's a group of gunslingers who fight these groups. This is all me just explaining from what I've seen in the trailer. I've not read the book. I know there's like 8 or 9 books of the Dark Tower. So it's back to my train of thought. So the whole movie is about them, I guess, fighting, and like the Dark Lord wants to take out this tower, and Dark Lord, Man in Black, wants to take out this tower, Dark Tower. And so it flashes back or goes into reality of the Earth. And it's about a kid who has dreams. And he draws out all these really cool things, different pictures, images that I guess he has in dreams. Then psychologist tells him that it's just a dream, it's not real, and then that's when things start shaking. It cuts to multiple different scenes, and it cuts to him at it looks like a wall, and it's like a teleport, and he goes through it. He meets the gunslinger. The gunslinger's like, "Who are you?" And he's like telling like all these things and asking the gunslinger if you are real. And he's like, "No." And he's like, "Well, I saw this." Shows him a picture of who he is, the drawing, and it looks really cool. Like there's fighting. If you saw the teaser trailer, you see him do this thing. He's loading his gun while he's like on his belt loop. It looks like he's loading it, and it looks cool. It looks adventurous and fun, and I'm digging this every time I watch this because it's a little fresh. It's not like, ooh, it's another Marvel or DC movie. It's something cool. It's an adventure, and I'm kind of digging it. And you see the kid holding a gun too, a revolver with Idris. And I'm like, this is really cool. That's going to get a lot of backfire because it's giving a kid a gun. But in reality, it's a movie. This is something I can take my wife to and just relax and just enjoy 2 hours of doing nothing but enjoying a movie. And that's another cool thing. I told my wife, I was like, I know what we're doing for our 1-year anniversary. We're going to go see this. She's totally on board. So it looks cool. One thing I'm kind of I'm hoping it's kind of, if it's true, is if they're going to tie in, because it comes out pretty soon. I think it's this month or next month or sometime in the summer. If it and Dark Tower tie in together, I think that's going to be really cool. If not, it's just a coincidence that both of them coming out the same year. I've heard nothing but good things about Dark Towers. Like, people just talk about it. And I may read the books. I'm not into it. Or I might do Audible. I might read an audio tape or audio digital thing of the Dark Towers. Because it seems like something I would enjoy. It's an adventure type book that seems like Okay, cool. Spanning a lot, and I know there's comics. So yeah, I would recommend seeing that. I know I have the links to both the Defenders and the Dark Towers trailers in there. So definitely check those out and watch them. The music in both of them are really good. Visually, Dark Towers is really good. It's not my favorite trailer, but it's a good trailer to kind of get you interested in it. And I like that. It doesn't give away too much, but it gives enough to want you to see more of it. Still, my favorite trailer of this year was Logan. That hands down is my favorite trailer. And I would love to see more trailers like that where you play Johnny Cash or making it very, very dark and gritty. So, yeah, that is the show. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about technical stuff in the Hollywood industry, like what jobs there are. And if you guys want, you can leave a comment after this video is done being live. You can leave a comment, ask, hey, why don't you talk about this or that? Or you can email us at themovielounge15@gmail.com. Or you can go to the Facebook page and we can just talk about it. Like, I'm very open to talking about things and talking about movies. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.